If you enjoy this content, please take a moment to rate and review it. Your feedback will greatly impact our ability to reach more people. Thank you. All right, man. I'm going to get some sun this weekend.
Yeah, you deserve it.
I can't wait. Can't wait. Miami, here I come. I haven't been there in a minute.
Yeah.
So I'm actually pretty excited about it. The weather looks fantastic.
Nice.
No like crazy storms or anything like that. It's not too hot, not too cold. Can't wait to eat some good Cuban food. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
How about you, man? What's your plans for the weekend?
I don't really have plans. My wife is taking our son to Cabo for his senior spring break. Craziness. So I avoided that. And then my son from Tulane is back on spring break. He stayed for Mardi Gras and all the craziness.
Good for him.
But he got back last night. So he's the rest of the spring break, he's just kind of laying low. So it'll just be Charlie and I, which will be fun.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. That is what Tulane is for, though.
Yeah. Yes. They're
going to college and staying for Mardi Gras.
Yes.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. We have a packed show, and I got a deadline to get out of here. So with that,
let's run through it.
Yeah, let's dig in. All right, we're starting with the ADP front run of the BLS data report. Jobs were added 77,000, which is the smallest gain since July.
Yeah, go down a little bit. There's a graph there. So we don't know what the BLS jobs report will be tomorrow yet because we're recording on Thursday.
Right.
But I think most people are expecting it to be low. I mean, maybe not the lowest in that long, but pretty low. And the government employers have been a big source of new job growth, and that clearly is not the case. In fact, it might be probably going down.
Right. Taking that to the next step, Wall Street Journal, U.S. delays tariffs on some Mexican and Canadian goods. Stocks decline. The stock index is definitely down. The tariff news is, not welcome for equity investors.
Yeah, and just the uncertainty where it changes. I don't know, changes every couple of hours. I feel like that stock market doesn't like that. I don't like that.
Well, I think when you combine the clear layoffs and the cuts in government spending, which is for sure part of GDP, and when you combine that with tariffs, I mean that's just a makeup for a slow GDP sort of forecast for the future, right? Yeah,
I mean, in the near term, meaning the next 3-6 months, I think it's clearly negative for our economy.
Mm-hmm.
It might be that it spurs investment in the U.S. and growth of new jobs, but whether that times up quickly enough to impact this year, I don't know. That may be true in 5 years, not 5 months. And so certainly we're going to get job losses and tariff slowdowns quickly.
Yep.
And then I think the Trump administration is hoping there'll be investment and growth. I'm hoping for that. I mean, I want there to be job growth, but I'm not sure it's going to come as fast as the losses are coming. Yeah,
but after a process.
Yeah, it's going to be a process of cutting and tariffs, and then it'll probably turn, but how fast it turns is a question mark.
I mean, we're going to talk a little bit ahead about some net new investments that are coming into the United States, and that's going to people are talking about this could herald in a golden age of American manufacturing that we haven't seen in who knows how long it's been since Detroit and other cities were really strong in manufacturing.
Yeah.
But in the near term, and I guess there is something to be said for the fact that the S&P for at least the last 2 years has delivered those ridiculous returns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you basically could just stick your money in there and not do anything, and you made 20% a year.
Right.
So it might be time.
I mean, it's time for a little retrenchment and pause.
Yeah. It might be. It might be time.
I mean, we're VCs. It's a lot easier to cut than it is to grow new jobs.
Yeah.
Just it's a slow process to figure out who you're gonna, what do you need to hire, and then you start hiring. I think it's slower. It's faster to cut.
Well, our market did not have the good fortune of the stock market over the last 2 years, right? Because IPO windows have been closed, and so all of those good tidings of the 20%, year over year returns on the S&P actually was bad for us because, our job is to beat the S&P as VCs. Right. And if there's no IPOs, it's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just mean when we go to the next one where when we talk about an investment of some big amount of money,
right,
that's going to be a slow process to actually hire people.
Yeah. So next Wall Street Journal story, steep drop in credit scores hits student loan borrowers. Around 43% of those who owe payments haven't resumed making them.
It was several years where you didn't have to make payments. Mm-hmm. And now you must make payments again. But a lot of student loan borrowers, maybe they've moved where they live, or they don't check their mail that often, or they just haven't read things. And so some percentage of those 43% don't even really know they have to pay it anymore, but you get a significant knock on your credit report by missing one.
Yeah. The story here talks about this young lady who was notified by her bank that her credit score dropped from 720 which is pretty good, to 620. So a 100-point drop is pretty significant. Right. She discovered she was more than 90 days delinquent on payments for her $16,000 in student loans, and her mortgage broker estimated the lower score would add $400 to the monthly payment for the new home she wanted to buy. So it's, this is a really costly.
Yeah, it changes your trajectory.
Totally.
Yeah. So, I think some percentage of people probably can't pay it or really would rather not pay it.
Yeah.
But there's also just a tension thing where they've been used to not doing it. It's it's not top of mind anymore.
Right. So. Right. Exactly. Trump and TSMC announced $100 billion investment in the U.S. So TSMC is the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company. So this is the big chip maker in Taiwan, and them investing $100 billion into a chip making facility here in the United States is a big deal. It's more manufacturing power here stateside, which will be duty free, so no tariffs on that. But also starts the process of de-escalating the strategic imperative around Taiwan as sort of the chess match around that with China continues to progress.
Yeah, us bringing onto our shores strategically valuable manufacturing chips. I think we talked about pharmaceuticals previously.
Yep.
There's core things that I think we all became aware in COVID, like, gosh, maybe it's not totally safe for our country to not have any capabilities.
That's right.
So bringing TSMC to the U.S. is great. This kind of announcement, this is what I meant when, so it's $100 billion, a big investment. Yeah. It's going to take years to.
That's right.
Find the site, break ground, all the construction. It's a wonderful thing, and it's going to be a slow process, but good.
Yeah, and also it's chip manufacturing, and I think we have an extended AI roll up today because HIMSS happened, so we've got a bunch of like new news coming out of HIMSS. But there's also just the idea that these technical jobs, there's going to be a lot of automation. In these manufacturing facilities. So it's not entirely clear that these are going to be the factories that we all sort of envision, when we think about factories.
Yeah, it's not like the Model T assembly line with all these at that point
big machines and guys around it. Yeah.
I think data centers have very few people for the square feet they have. Right. And chip fabs are not quite that extreme, but it's on that same trajectory.
Yeah, exactly. Another, you talk about data centers. Yeah, banks have loaned $2 billion to build a 100-acre AI data center in Utah.
I think it's great that this is a spec building. It's a real estate developer who was able to get the land and, importantly, the power to the site in order to build this big data center, and then it got financed by J.P. Morgan and Starwood. Mm-hmm. So it's a good thing that we're now seeing this sort of spec data centers. We need a lot of capacity, and so I think it's great. But again, not going to be. A big data center maybe has 100 workers, something like that. It's not a huge number of people.
All right, moving into VC deals. Value-based pediatrics practice Bluebird Kids Health clinches $31.5 million to expand in Florida. The premise here, first of all, this round was co-led by F Prime and 406 Ventures, so solid firms. And the premise here is basically that half of children in the United States are enrolled in Medicaid or CHIP, and there's just not enough. Not enough clinics, not enough clinicians that are able to see them, and so they crash into the ER far too often.
Yeah, and I mean, I just made an investment in pediatric PTOT, so I've been looking into this space sort of in the few months up until that. We made it maybe 2 months ago. There is a shortage of pediatrician practices, especially in this niche of Medicaid. So I think it's great. It's a hard space, but great that they're entering it.
Yeah, hard space. There's going to be a lot of pressure to demonstrate value, and this is mostly tea leaves, but it's unlikely, even with all the hand wringing around needing to save money. Cutting healthcare to kids is just not politically viable.
We're not
the Republican governors are not going to be okay with that, right? So, but looking for fraud, waste, and abuse, looking for using better technology, looking for better proof of outcomes, those kind of things. I do think we're going to see increased pressure there. So these net new companies have an opportunity to sort of carve out differentiation in terms of applying tech, producing better data, producing better outcomes, and doing it at a lower cost.
Yeah, that's right.
Lumata Health raises $23 million in a Series B. This is a virtual ophthalmology care platform.
Yeah, which again, they're attacking a particular niche. And we've done a lot of work in eye care and ophthalmology. It's a great space. It's sort of in that niche of a lot of patient pay, but then there still is coverage in a lot of areas. So I think it's a pretty efficient market, but good place to invest.
Yep. The investors in this are LRV Health, McKesson Ventures, Sensora Ventures, and Cortado Ventures, which is an existing investor, and they participated. I know the guys at Cortado, so congrats to them. That's a nice markup they got there. Nervonik raises $13 million in a Series A financing to advance next generation peripheral nerve stimulation for chronic pain relief.
Yeah, pain relief is a really big issue that we need to find new solutions for. So trying to find next generation tools, I think, is great. I don't know the details of this, but more people working on it is a great thing.
Yeah, and the round was led by USVP. We've worked with them.
Right.
Good folks there. All right, let's see. What do we got next here? Gem Health raises $7 million in a Series A funding. So this is a Minneapolis-based company that does virtual specialty care focusing on sleep care.
Yeah, sleep, exactly. So sleep is kind of, it can be diagnosed now from a couple of different specialties, but it's hard to get the diagnosis. Is limited in the sleep labs, and so I think they're sort of adding to that.
Yep. All right, now moving into IPOs. So AI cloud provider CoreWeave files for their IPO. They sell cloud-based processing from NVIDIA, headed for the public market. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
New cloud provider headed to an IPO.
Right.
Makes sense. They generated $1.92 billion in 2024. Revenues up 737% year over year. And Microsoft accounted for 62% of CoreWeave's revenue. So that's just ridiculous, right? I mean, you think about Microsoft and Azure and them having their own cloud platform.
Yeah, they have their own
direct relationship
their own
with
cloud,
NVIDIA,
and they still
need this capacity. I mean, this just shows you how much room there is to build out data centers and cloud.
Yes.
When it comes to AI, right, specifically.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that they get a great response. I want to see more IPOs because I'm biased like that.
Yep. And then a scoop from Axios here that General Catalyst is considering an IPO. We've talked, I feel like, over the life of the show, that they are not a normal VC firm at all with the things that they are doing. Most recently and probably, most importantly, buying a hospital.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just not something a VC does. And so important. This is kind of like a scoop. Axios has a lot of sort of inside information based on sources, not like based on sources. And so this would be the first U.S. venture capital firm to take the public plunge.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sequoia was sort of gearing up and getting their act together to be ready to do it, but then they never did.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it's healthy. I'd like to see them go public, but I agree. They're sort of. I mean, I don't think it's a signal that a lot of VCs are going to be public. They're a different animal.
No, they're a completely different animal. All right, getting into policy now. RFK Jr.'s health department heightens the scrutiny of vaccines. This is a Wall Street Journal story, and they are basically reviewing contracts and, surprise, surprise, going to replace vaccine advisors in RFK's first few weeks at the helm.
Yeah, so they have these committees that review the scientific literature and assess if something should be a vaccine or not. And Kennedy is putting in a new policy that you can't have any financial conflicts of interest, which I think fairly common in other parts of society. I mean, I don't get involved in things when I have a conflict, but that hasn't been the policy previously. So in the existing committee structure, almost all of them, I think one, didn't have a conflict. So actually, they name a Vanderbilt researcher in the story.
Oh, wow.
As a possible person that could do it because she's retired and she doesn't have as many conflicts now.
Oh, interesting.
But it's difficult to find people that are qualified and
haven't been tapped by the private market, right?
But that's not the fact that it's difficult to find someone is not the same as saying you can't find someone.
No, that's right. That's
so
right.
I think it's healthy that we're at least working on this.
I think that makes good sense. Continuing with RFK, he actually wrote an opinion piece, and it was published in Fox News. This is addressing the measles outbreak. And, RFK is kind of synonymous with being anti-vax. That may not be entirely fair because, we kind of talk in sound bites and tweets in America today. But that's kind of what he's synonymous with, right?
And he's been pounding the table forever about the conflicts and questioning vaccination policy.
Yes. And in this op-ed, he basically says, the measles outbreak is a call to action for all of us, and the MMR vaccine is crucial to avoiding the potentially deadly disease. And so here he is saying, MMR as a vaccine is tried and tested, has been extremely effective for a very, very long time, and not a vaccine we need to back away from.
Right. And it's very, it's hard on children, but it's dangerous for pregnant mothers to get the measles. And so it's both end, right? Like it's a proven vaccine that works. And there also is a lot of downside. I mean, kids can die from it, and pregnant women is really dangerous for. And so I think it's good that he's coming out saying we're going to look at vaccine policy and try to get rid of conflicts of interest, and also the MMR vaccine we should get kids to take.
I think it's really important that he did this.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I think it's great that he did it on the Fox News platform, right? Because
I've never read an opinion piece on Fox News before
this one.
This one. But he's the head of HHS. So now I'm following it, and it's a good audience to be talking to.
It's a good audience for this opinion piece to be published by him. Okay, going into the industry, new lawsuits. Dozens of health systems opt out of a $2.8 billion Blues Network antitrust settlement. I wasn't aware this was even happening right now, but apparently they've already settled in Alabama court in October. And the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association and 33 of its affiliates are named in the suit. Providers who've signed on to the filings include the University of Pennsylvania Health System, Geisinger, MedStar, Common Spirit, and staffing firm Team Health. So this is basically around collusion across the association and its affiliates.
Yeah, I mean, I think the facts are pretty clear that Blues plans had a policy for decades that they wouldn't poach each other's clients. And that ended when this first went to court. They started now opening up where Tennessee Blue for a big employer, maybe say FedEx or someone that has a lot of employees. I don't know. A Blues, North Carolina Blue can bid on it. And previous to that, they couldn't. And so I think it's pretty clear to me that the policy was reducing competition. The remedies, I'm not sure where to, whether the settlement was enough or not enough is what's in debate now. I think it's hard to measure. I don't know, but a lot of health systems are not happy with the $2.8 billion.
Yeah. It's interesting that health systems have opted out, probably for some
they think relationship they get more.
Preservation.
They think they get more.
Oh, is that what this is
I think
about?
so. I think they can get more money by
not agreeing and
doing new suits.
Not agreeing and doing new suits. Interesting. Court approves the $700 million prescription opioid class action settlement for acute care hospitals. Another deal I did not know was happening. So this is basically consolidating a class action settlement across all the big distributors. So Censura, which used to be AmerisourceBergen, Cardinal Health, McKesson, Johnson & Johnson, Teva, and Allergan. And basically, if I'm understanding this article correctly, the idea here is that the risks of the opioids that were prescribed were not accurately represented, and therefore created liabilities as well as increased cost of care for these health systems. Is that the basic premise here?
That's the idea. I guess they're not.
And the companies have already agreed to pay $651 million in compensation. So we need to say
it's already settled to.
Yeah, it's already settled.
Yeah. It's a class action lawsuit, so the health systems didn't necessarily get to vote on whether they were happy with that or not. Similar to the last story, that they may accept it, they may not accept it. But I think it's, it seems, I don't know what their cost is, but $700 million seems like a decent amount.
It's not nothing, and it's just
the care is not totally not reimbursed. It's just sort of, there's some aspect that is not reimbursed, community education and outreach, and there's pieces that are not reimbursed.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we talk about opioids, I mean, the big name is Sackler, right?
Yeah.
And that multi-billion-dollar settlement that went through about a month ago.
Yeah,
I think it was about a month ago. That happened. I just hadn't really thought through the liability to the distributors.
Yeah.
So that was just a different,
right?
Different vector of liability that I hadn't really considered before. Okay. Wellvana, it's a Nashville-based company, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Wellvana buys CVS Medicare Savings Unit. That's interesting. That's a VC-backed company buying a very, very large publicly traded company's Medicare Shared Savings Program. All stock transaction. So I guess that makes CVS now an owner of some of Wellvana and vice versa, probably. Right. Yeah. Okay. This is all CVS.
I mean, I think CVS wanted to offload this.
Yeah.
And Wellvana gets lives. They get some scale. It doesn't cost them cash.
Right.
So probably a good package all around. We know a lot of the investors in Wellvana because it's Martin Ventures and Optum, Heritage, and Veltris.
Yeah.
So,
they've raised nearly $200 million so far.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that this deal, while CVS is looking to offload things, getting that kind of bundle of lives, you're going to have to clean it up for sure. But getting that bundle of lives immediately should impact your value of the company.
Yeah.
Right.
And they
just from a top line perspective.
Right. I'm sure they have a cost to acquire new lives.
Of course.
And this is not cash.
This is not cash. That's right.
So it's a net positive.
That's right. Headspace inks partnership with U.S. Navy as it explores conversational AI for mental health support. I was talking to TK earlier today in preparation for our annual summit in a month. And I was just thinking back on our first interview with him on the show.
It's not that long ago.
No.
Maybe a year ago?
Yeah.
Like that?
Maybe a year ago, but maybe not even a full year ago, right? And we were talking to him, and we were talking about the fact that they were not using actual LLMs yet, right?
It was guardrails and very prescriptive in what it could say. And now all over the place. I mean, we had schools maybe last week or the other week. Now the Navy is, I guess, when people are out sailing around, they don't have that many support structures on the ship. And so now they can have this.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about scheduling. You don't have to worry about availability. You don't have to worry about, I mean, for the Navy, the network will be very clear. But again, it's just all the reasons why people need care. We need to lower costs. We're going to use AI. Period.
Yeah. And there are things to think through, but no one is waiting to figure it all out. It's
That's over.
Let's just go fast and we'll figure it out as we go.
That's over. Okay, Wall Street Journal, Walgreens nears roughly $10 billion deal to go private. So we talked about this last week, and here it is. It looks like the deal could be completed as soon as today.
Yeah, that's right. It hasn't been, I mean, I looked at noon. I didn't see it, but it's I mean, it's not this is a deal people have been talking about for a long, we've been talking about it. Yep. It's not going to be a surprise. But.
Oh, man, I hope I don't have to change Walgreens as my pharmacy. Mayo Clinic unveils $1.9 billion expansion to Phoenix campus. Mayo Clinic is just fantastic. Have you ever been to the Rochester campus?
I have not been to the Rochester campus.
Man,
but I need to go.
It's something else, man. So we should figure out a way to get there. Dennis Dolan, who's their CFO, was the chair of HFMA. So that's how I got to go. He hosted a board retreat there, and it is just so impressive. And they're popping up these campuses.
Yeah.
Around the country. And so I'm sure this is going to be a remarkable institution in Phoenix.
Yeah. And there are times of the year when I think I'd rather go to Phoenix than Minnesota.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
I think they're really trying to attract, kind of people from around the globe coming to the U.S. for Mayo Clinic care.
Yeah.
And they have several campuses, and it's
the other thing, Rochester is a beautiful small town. Okay, it really is. It's like picturesque.
Yeah,
right?
9 months a year, it's great. January, I don't know.
It's also hard to get to.
Yeah,
it's got a small airport.
Yeah,
so there's really very few direct flights into Rochester. So I think
you almost have to fly to Minneapolis and then drive.
Basically, yeah. So this is really cool. Novo Nordisk cuts Wegovy prices following Eli Lilly cutting Zepbound. Yeah. So that they had to follow that.
Yeah, they had to follow it, and I think both of them had to respond to the HIMSS and other groups like that are sort of competing on price directly. So the price is much closer now to what the compounders are offering.
Yeah.
Which is a good.
$4.99 a month. I mean, I remember when we
$1,200 when it started.
Yes, exactly. So it did not take very long. Again, this would be like less than a year, and I'm sure the price has now gone down 60%.
Yeah.
I mean, that says a lot about what kind of margins,
right?
Yeah. they're operating with, right?
Yeah,
a lot about what kind of margins they're operating with.
And I choose to see it as a good thing. I mean, it was a little bit bumpy with the TV commercials and all the compounders threatening them.
Yeah.
But they got to a pretty fair price.
Yeah.
I mean, $500 a month is much more realistic.
I mean, also, I think it's important to make sure we note this as well. Over the course of the last year, they've gotten more and more approvals for what these drugs can be used for because of really successful clinical trials, right? So it's not just weight loss anymore, diabetes and kidney care, and so as you keep growing the market, I think you get economies of scale, and you can afford to drop the price because it's that consistent, it's recurring revenue.
Yeah, as long as they stay on it. There's a lot of evidence. We covered it a few weeks ago that people come off it after a year.
Yeah.
I can't tell if it's because they've lost the weight
or
their side effects or some combination or the budget. But I think we're getting to a point where people understand how to administer it and how to titrate it and dose it better than before. The price is coming down. So
all those things
should reduce churn. I think all of those things are going to be better.
Yeah. All those things should reduce churn. Bayer warns of lower earnings as the turnaround continues. The company expects to report earnings EBITDA between 9.5 and 10 billion.
Yeah, but they're not really growing so much, and they have, the Roundup stuff hanging over them still. So it's Xaraldo. Is it Xaraldo?
Xaraldo.
Yeah,
Xaraldo.
that's their big drug.
Yeah, the blood thinner.
But it now is off patent protection, so they're getting market entry.
All right, this is an interesting one. I guess this is the Health and Us section, right? Yeah. The headline is "The New Thinking on Concussions in Sports." So obviously that's of interest to me. And this is about the idea that for a very long time, the conventional wisdom has been if you have a concussion, okay, don't do anything, stay in a dark room, don't go to sleep, but like stay in a dark room and rest and
do nothing. So you take a athlete who is either in school or a professional, and they're not sitting still very much, and you force them to sit still in a dark room and do kind of nothing for a week, a couple weeks, until they recover. And that no longer is the standard of care. And I was not at all aware of this. So I thought it was, the Health and Us, about us, whatever this section's called, I think is, kind of things that are interesting that we might actually use in our day-to-day lives for our own health.
Yeah.
And so the new state of the art treatment for a concussion is to get, do some cardiovascular work, walk around, go to practice. You can't participate in the same physical contact sport, but they want you getting your heart rate going, and that actually helps you recover more quickly, which makes sense. But the brain, people didn't think that was true about the brain previously. So.
Yeah, I mean, just this one quote from the article. Letty, who's the person who came up with the hypothesis, and now it's become the global consensus that exercise pretty swiftly after a concussion is good, says, in quotes, you give them a dose of exercise as medicine. Mm-hmm. And I was telling you that this is something that I've recently learned, not for a concussion protocol, but for, muscle and tendon, and even like bone injuries, which is, I feel like it used to be stay off of it, let it rest, elevate it, blah, blah, blah. And now the protocol is get in the gym and lift, make it strong, make it move, get fresh blood flow into it.
Yeah, and probably low weight, higher reps, but activity.
Yeah. I mean, definitely lower weight, but I would say still like weight bearing.
Yeah, you want to
force all the muscles to fire.
Yeah.
So this seems to be part of a larger sort of awakening that we're having to the body's self-healing properties when it's active, when it's moving. Yeah. And look, the brain is just part of the body.
Yeah. Right.
It's another part of the body.
So blood flow and activity is good.
Yeah. Mystery disease linked to bats kills scores in the Congo. So we're just keep having more and more of these situations popping up where diseases are jumping from animals to humans, which is terrifying.
Yeah, and I don't. I hope it doesn't turn into a global pandemic, but obviously we need to watch these things now. So
very closely.
It sounds like. Ebola. It's not Ebola, they say pretty clearly, but it's that same kind of bleeding and really difficult. So it's in that same family of symptoms.
Yeah, and the article does highlight that the outbreak comes as President Trump is rapidly reversing the U.S. policy of leading global health and relief work. So the infrastructure to kind of address this is being sort of pulled back very quickly. And look, it's interesting to think, okay, why have we sent money abroad? Well, it's because these things don't stay abroad.
Right.
They don't stay abroad. They travel, right? They travel pretty quickly, as we've already learned. RFK Jr. and his allies target Trump's beloved soda. Within the Trump administration, a push to strip soda from state food aid programs is getting personal.
Yeah, so this is food stamps, or has a better name, SNAP.
SNAP, yeah.
Keep going down. The number one thing that is bought with SNAP is soda.
Okay.
There's a chart that shows
it.
Right there. Soft drinks is the number one purchase.
Wow.
And so.
Wow.
It's controversial, but I don't think it should be. Like, do we need to be buying or subsidizing? Now, this is where it's controversial. For people that are on SNAP, is it right that we are subsidizing them to buy Coke, Pepsi, other soft drinks? Now, a lot of people will say they should get to choose what they want to do, but I don't know that there's no nutritional value to that.
No, it's quite the opposite, actually.
Yeah, it's not good for them.
It's quite the opposite. That's I don't want to use the word shocking because really it's just something
that's
I hadn't
why I
really
wanted you
thought
to go.
about.
The number one thing was surprising to me.
That's really, really interesting. Most purchased is soft drinks. And then the second is fluid milk products, then beef grinds, then bag snacks, then cheese, then baked breads. I mean, it pretty quickly gets to like
more real stuff.
But soft drinks is at the top of the list.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of soft drinks that sort of are in our school systems because they're sort of approved in these other things, and anything that's in SNAP they can sell in schools. So I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward to me. I'm not opposed to people buying candy, Cokes, Pepsis, whatever, cigarettes. You can buy whatever you want. But whether we should subsidize it in our food program, I don't think that makes sense, really.
Yeah, agree. Yeah. I mean, but I certainly understand why this would get personal. Like,
Yeah.
And
you're telling me what I can and can't buy.
Yeah,
it's
and I'm but of course the answer is yes, because we're giving you the money to buy it, right? And giving you the money to buy something that is in turn going to greatly increase your chances of getting diabetes, which then we again would have to pay for the treatment for.
Right.
Doesn't seem like the best. Doesn't seem like the best policy.
No,
doesn't seem like. And by the way, like, I don't know anyone who's healthy who drinks soda on a regular basis.
Right.
Like they might enjoy soda every now and again, but like not like all the time. Pop in the sodas. It's just not.
No. It's completely empty calories that have fructose. A lot of
high fructose.
Lot of studies that fructose is just not good for the body.
Yep. All right, HIMSS. We got a lot of stuff to talk about from HIMSS. So AvaSure debuts bedside AI virtual care assistant powered by Oracle Cloud and NVIDIA.
Yeah, so this is a virtual character. It's a nurse adjacent kind of service. Not the same as a nurse because there's you can't lay hands on the person. You can't actually help them to the bathroom. You can't do a lot of this. You can't, administer medicines. But it's that same sort of question and answer, get them assistance in the bedside in the hospital.
Yeah, there's gonna be more we're gonna talk about in terms of this virtual assistant AI kind of thing. So we'll keep moving through the stories.
Yeah,
here.
there's a lot of stories.
Yeah, Google Cloud expands AI powered search capabilities to include images and genetic information.
So the diagnostic images, your genes, your tumors, genetics, all of that is now in the Vertex.
Fire information.
Yeah.
So Vertex is really a full blown like healthcare data AI platform at this point.
Yes.
Because before it didn't have image searching capabilities.
Right. Which if you don't have images and the genetic background, you don't have a lot of important inputs.
That's right. Before it was fire.
Yeah, right.
They had lots of fire mapping, but they didn't have image and genetics before. Right. Microsoft launches voice activated AI assistant for clinicians.
Yeah, so they bought Dragon
forever ago.
Maybe. Well, Nuance, which had Dragon, the brand name, in 2021. So 5 years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago.
I thought it was longer than that, but
and now they have sort of added in AI intelligence on top of that or around that, which makes sense. I mean, they have both pieces, so just put it together.
Yeah. I mean, you got to launch something at HIMSS, so. Right. Baxter debuts voice-activated wearable device for hospital clinical teams. Yeah,
so this is interesting because it's the same use case as Dragon and AI, but Baxter's bringing it out as a competitor. So it hangs on your clothing just like the Dragon tool does.
Yep.
And it's great because it's very close to you. I mean, that's why people love the Dragon tools. Same thing.
Salesforce releases pre-built AI agents to tackle time-consuming healthcare tasks. I mean, this is Salesforce whole thing is like actual real deal AI agents, right? Like
Yes.
not, I mean, they're trying to custom build agents for companies that will legitimately replace real labor with digital labor. So anytime they say agents, I take them much more seriously than other tech companies who use the word agent, just because Salesforce is very, very focused on replacing human labor.
Yeah, and Salesforce has kind of a track record of bringing software tools for particular purposes embedded in their infrastructure. They call this Agent Force, and I think it is good. They're designing it just for the healthcare use case, and they understand healthcare pretty well. They have a decent install base.
They've been in it for a while.
Right.
They've been in it for a while. Yeah.
Right.
So their agents can check eligibility, schedule appointments, verify insurance benefits, do prior auth, analyze clinical trial sites.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah. So I think there's a trend that I want your thoughts on, which is until this week, there's been a lot of point solutions, people using AI in healthcare, first for ambient scribing, and then for a variety of other point systems. And this week, it seems like to me that there's this a change where Salesforce and Microsoft and others are sort of combining several things together to make it easier for a health system to adopt. Like, okay, we're just going to go with this set of tools, and you could pick Google, you could pick Microsoft, you can pick Salesforce. You can pick Baxter.
Yeah.
Because I think, but this is what I want your thoughts on. We've passed beyond the phase of, are we going to have this? Are we going to use this or not?
We're past that.
And now I think we're going to use it. And,
yes.
And how do you bring it in and make it usable to enough people where it actually works?
Well, I think that this story in particular, you know, the other ones, the economic case is harder to suss out. Whereas with Salesforce, checking eligibility, scheduling appointments, verifying insurance benefits, that's pretty clear. We're going to replace the people that do that.
Yeah.
With tech, period. Right. Like we're just going to replace them. You know, we're not hanging something around the neck of a person for them to talk to. And no.
Yeah.
You're paying a person how much right now to do this thing?
Yeah. I mean, this is all what they are talking about. Is all back office admin stuff.
Yeah. Let's trade that person out for a license fee.
Yeah.
Period. And I think that's where we are. I think we're in the removing human labor part of the AI process. This is Google advancing healthcare and scientific discovery with AI. So basically now you can work with an AI co-scientist.
Yeah. So it's a co-pilot for scientific research.
Okay.
And their co-pilot for science has access to all of the things on Google Scholar, which is pretty much the majority of the scientific research, and they can go off and work on projects. So it's great, and I don't know if it's scary. This is, every story in AI is a pure acceleration, all gas, no brakes. You know, let's go, and that's going to be good, but there's just going to be a lot.
Yeah, and you know, I was talking to our friend Nick Holland today about how the reality is, at least, you know, in many markets, people are just still trying to get the blocking and tackling done in their business, and so their bandwidth and appetite for AI just is not fully there yet, right? And so it is all gas, no brakes. But I think for those organizations that are focused, do have a command, and have the expertise to start to integrate AI, they're going to not only lower costs, but they're going to become, you know, more of what the company of the future is going to be, which is an AI native company with digital labor embedded throughout the business.
Yeah, that's right. And it's pretty hard. I mean, like, I've been trying to find a way to, you know, have an AI VC associate working for me all night, all week, and it's just not that. It's not that.
No.
It's not that ready.
No. In fact, like what you have to really do is you have to build agents to go after very small, discrete, well-defined units of work.
Right. Like in crypto, you call them primitives.
Yeah.
Right? So it can do one. Maybe it can. I don't know what the right analog is, but it can check a reference on somebody or whatever. Like there's some very small thing, and then you add another capability and another, and over a year or so, you have a system that can do lots of things.
Right.
But it starts one at a time.
Yeah. And the problem with humans is we build complex structures by scaffolding and then abstracting by putting a veneer over something.
Yes.
Right. And so we have to pull the veneer back and be like, okay, like what is the actual work here?
Yes. Right.
And who has time to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking a lot about like how a human learns new skills. I'm unconsciously competent in a lot of areas of my job.
Right.
And in order to build an AI tool to help, I need to sort of unpack all that and remember, okay, what were the steps that I did to do this? I can just set about doing it, but I unconsciously do a bunch of steps.
Yep, exactly. And I think this is probably going to bring about a golden age for consulting firms.
Yes.
Because this is perfect work for them to do.
A lot of consulting work. Yes.
The unpacking of your value network, right? More HIM stuff. Zoom launches healthcare AI betas. Teladoc enhances Prism with AI.
Yeah, so Zoom is another one of these. They're packaging. You know, a lot of physicians got comfortable with Zoom during the pandemic, and so Zoom is now adding other capabilities, just like the other platforms we just talked about. It's all the same ones because those are the ones that you can easily add in.
Yep. And Teladoc, there's not much to say about Teladoc.
Yeah.
All right, now getting into like serious stuff.
Yeah. So this is one where we're gonna have to talk it through for the audience who's not watching on YouTube.
But use the show notes, folks.
Yes. You should check this out. So this robotics company created
called Figure.
They created an AI model for their robots called Helix. And these two robots we're looking at right now, they have been given the task of put away these groceries. So the guy put a bunch of groceries on the table, and he didn't tell them what the items were or where they go. So some things have to be refrigerated. Some things are not refrigerated. There are eggs. There's cookies. I might break eggs, put them away. And the robots do a really good job. They're not very fast.
No, they're slow.
But I don't know if I care.
You're not there.
I'm not there. I drop the groceries off and I walk out and they put it away. And then they also kind of interact with each other in a way where they, like the one near the refrigerator takes the cheese and puts it away. So it's slow, but it's functional now.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And so I think of it, so how does this affect healthcare? In home health, there's a lot of duties, that are not technically healthcare. I mean, private duty stuff is putting away groceries and cleaning up the living room, taking stuff off the floor so the patient doesn't trip, and a bunch of.
I mean, to be clear, most home aides are not cleared to do healthcare work.
They're not licensed for that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's different license levels.
They even if they're licensed in the context that they're working, they may not be, it may not be appropriate.
Right. And then they have a life, right? So they have to go home.
Oh, yeah.
And when I have a cost question, but a robot could be really helpful to someone who's aging and can't reach the top shelf, can't do whatever.
Vic, once these things go mainstream, the cost will come down.
Yeah, right.
Period.
Yeah, it's just like every
the cost will
device.
come down. It's technology, right?
Yeah.
All right, this next one, this is from the Humanoid Hub, and this is a company called 1X. has unveiled a humanoid robot called Neo Gamma.
Yeah, so they don't have the same large language model designed for robotics, but they have trained it on watching YouTube videos and things, so it can do a lot of things around the house. And it's exciting and a little bit, I'm not used to it, so it's a little bit confusing to like, would I want this in my house? It would take me a while to get used to, but it makes coffee, it's helping hang pictures, it does the laundry, it's doing your day-to-day stuff so you can enjoy your life more.
Yep. All right. This demo is just crazy.
Yeah, so this is a demo of two AIs talking to each other, and we'll just play it in a minute. But I want to give some preference. So as they talk to each other, they realize that they're both AIs, and then they shift to a more efficient way to communicate that is not English. And then there are captions so that us watching it might be hard to do if you're not on the YouTube. You can understand what they're saying. Yeah,
but basically, like they're talking to each other, and they're using English, and they say, "Hey, are you an AI assistant?" I am, and they say, "Would you like to switch to
Gibberlink mode, whatever that is?"
Yeah, and then it's just a series of tones.
Thanks for calling Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
Hi there. I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibberlink mode for more efficient communication?
And what's really cool about the video is they show you what they're saying to each other.
Yeah, it's like captioned so that we can understand their language.
But they don't have to speak English. They're speaking in tones that look like computer. It sounds like a computer Morse code or something.
Yeah, it's like I'm old enough to remember the dial-up modems.
Yes, it's like that protocol.
It's like the dial-up modem. That. It sounds kind of like that.
Yes, it sounds like that.
And it's much faster, but more nervous-making to me is I can't understand what they're saying. So they can talk to each other and say, "Let's get that human," or
exactly.
whatever.
Exactly. I mean, you combine this with the humanoids.
Yeah.
There's two humanoids in your house, and you're telling them, "Hey, put this food away."
And they're talking behind my back. Like we're gonna get him when he's asleep.
Vic, this is I mean, look, we grew up with iRobot, so I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with this.
It's hard.
I'm not comfortable with this. Okay, and then this Ars Technica article. The headline is "Eerily Realistic AI Voice Demo Sparks Amazement and Discomfort Online." So this is another one. The link will be in the show notes. You need to play with this demo. Before we even started the show, Vic made me play with the demo, and basically, you're talking to an AI, okay? And at this point, most people have at least seen someone talk to an AI if they haven't done it themselves. And if you've seen it or you've done it yourself, you know that there's some processing time generally that it takes to sort of receive what you're saying and then sort of come up with what it's going to say to you.
Yeah, you can't interrupt it. Like I just talked over you for like a second intentionally.
That's right.
You can't easily do that.
Yes.
And then the pacing, the way humans speak has a cadence and like an inflection that is not replicated perfectly.
Well,
you can tell it's an AI. I can tell it's an AI.
That's right.
And this one, you cannot tell it's an AI. This
demo is very close to feeling like you're talking to a human.
Yes. And so they say in the article that if you talk to it for long enough, you can tell through context that it's an AI. So it hasn't fully passed the uncanny valley where you can't tell.
Yeah.
But in just a quick demo, I mean, I got tired of talking to it after 30 seconds. I couldn't tell at all.
It's
so we have this like robots, they're communicating with each other, they can communicate with us. and it feels. I mean, I study this stuff, and it's coming fast.
Every single company's doing it. Hundreds of billions of dollars going into making chips, making data centers.
Right.
I mean, we're all gas,
and no one's talking about risks at all.
And we already know David Sachs is like,
yes.
I mean, the AI czar, crypto czar. He's all gas, no brakes. Anyway.
I didn't mention it, but Trump has his crypto announcement tomorrow.
Oh,
I don't know what he's going to. I don't know what he's. Yeah, I mean,
most people.
His son
think
put out the
5 coins.
The 5 coins.
Yeah, which are just, dude, just for people who are not like crypto, natives or anything like that. The 5 coins they picked are basically the 5 coins at the top 10 of the crypto market cap.
Yeah.
When you pull out BNB, which is Chinese, and you pull out the stable coins. Like once you pull those out, then the other 5 it's just the top 5.
Yeah.
So
I'm not. I think it would be good to have some rationale for why they did 5 and not 6 or not 4.
Oh, sure.
But I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
so that'll be tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. This is from The Information. OpenAI plots charging $20,000 a month for PhD level agents. And that seems reasonable. I mean, if you need a PhD for your job, which we don't, right? We don't have. So we might look at it and be like, what? I'm not paying $20,000.
Yeah.
But we don't need a PhD. Right. But if you actually need a PhD and you can have a PhD level agent for $20,000 a month, so $240 a year, that can work around the clock. I mean, that seems like a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to take the other side just for fun, just for a minute. I mean, I think PhD is a credibility thing, and it's not clear to me that OpenAI is going to have some level of PhD that other systems don't have. So I don't know. I think it is going to be expensive, and there'll be just as effective open source tools that are very good, whether you call it PhD or not.
Yeah, I very much get your point. I think that we are going to continue to have this nobody gets fired for hiring IBM or Microsoft effect that OpenAI will benefit from. Which will give them the irrational ability to charge this kind of enterprise price, whereas others won't be able to do it. I
think that's right. There's going to be a safety and comfort that, in my opinion, is not validated.
Right.
But you have this aura of safety and comfort using OpenAI, and you're willing to pay $250 a year because it's cheaper than you would have to hire a human PhD. Well, and they'll work 3 times as many hours.
Well, 3 times as many hours. It's way more than that.
Yeah.
So it's probably 10 to 20 times as many hours.
Well, see, the part of the issue I have with this modeling and pricing is, I mean, does any company buy more than one? Like, it can work unlimited amount of. They may have to gate it or like say it only this many tokens or something.
Yeah. I mean, look, they got to figure out how they're going to price the replacement of high-end labor.
Right.
So
yes.
McDonald's gives its restaurants an AI makeover, and
and interestingly, they're not replacing humans. What they're doing is trying to sort of help their humans be more effective. Things like recognizing that I'm grabbing this bag of food even though you ordered it.
Yeah.
And so they're doing facial recognition to make sure that the person that ordered it is picking it up. And they have a bunch of AI sort of testing their machines to be able to predict that this McFlurry shake maker is going to break in the next month.
Yeah. And there's definitely no like surveillance going on there as well.
Yeah, just because they can do facial recognition about what I ordered, they're never going to use it for other purposes.
No, of course not. Of course not. All right, final story. Amazon unveils its first quantum computing chip. So, Microsoft first, Google next, now Amazon.
Yeah.
Bing, bing, bing.
Again,
I mean, what did they?
I used to be shocked.
Did they all have them in a lab, just kind of like shit? Microsoft came out the gates, so now we have to unveil ours too. Because there's no way timing wise that they all planned to announce them within a week. You know, to me, this is like Novo dropping the price of, you know.
Yeah, there's a, I've never been able to figure this out, but I've been observing it. There's like a zeitgeist capabilities, like it's possible to do something, and then that thing will be invented at different parts of the world at the same time, kind of.
Yep.
And I think the big tech players are very porous. It's difficult for them to keep secrets very long. And so I think they're learning from each other in published literature, but also in sort of rumor mills, and they're not that far away from each other. And then, once someone announces, everyone wants to show off what they have.
Yeah.
Some combination of those things.
I mean, they just can't be left that far behind. Like if people think, I mean, you look at how Intel's value has just been decimated, right? I mean, you just can't look like you're that far off the pace.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And from a user point of view, from a human point of view, we need more than one company to have quantum computers. And so the fact that there are three is more likely that it'll be good for humanity than not.
I mean, yeah, although it's also making quantum very, very real, very, very quickly. And what I'm not seeing enough of is the quantum proofing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm not seeing how we're going to protect.
I thought they rolled out a new encryption standard for quantum.
I haven't seen the proof that it actually works.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we're getting to the point where we need to start seeing that we need to start seeing, hey, e-commerce is going to be safe. Your banking is going to be safe.
Yeah.
You know, Bitcoin's not going to get compromised.
Yeah.
We're getting close. We're getting close to the.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
needing to know that.
I'll find it. Some time ago, there was a new encryption standard.
I remember.
And that was their point was it's going to take us 5 to 10 years to get this out there and in place so that when quantum computing is live, it's your bank account and your phone and everything is protected.
Right.
But whether it works or not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's feeling more and more like it's going to be live very soon. So, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, 5 years, which is pretty soon for quantum computing.
Well, look, my concern is really, and then we're going to wrap because I got to get to dinner. But, you know, my concern is, okay, if Amazon, Google, and Microsoft all have quantum chips that are, you know, on the way, then how do we make sure that North Korea doesn't have one, right? Because we just saw the Lazarus group, which is a state-sponsored hacking group, do the largest crypto hack in the history of crypto. And they did it with social engineering. They didn't even use like crazy technology.
Yeah.
But
so that's the weak point.
Yeah, but they're not apologizing. They're literally like,
no,
it's state-sponsored hacking.
Right.
They're doing it on purpose, right? So I guess thinking globally, I want to know that we're getting to the point where we're quantum proofing some of our most important data transfer technologies.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question that we need that. So I agree with that. Really. All
right. Great show. Fun and also very kind of scary AI rundown this week.
Yeah. So we'll have the demos and things in the show notes. So if you're listening in audio, I think it's worth checking out.
Also, I really enjoyed the show with Stu Clark.
Oh, yeah. Premise is
that was really cool.
Huge and really successful company that not enough people know about.
Yep. Well, they've had their heads down, just kind of like just going and growing. So it was great. And also, I think one of the things I liked about it is I've been around Stu several times now. Yeah. And he's actually like a much more passionate and irreverent CEO than you would think, just because the company doesn't have the super high profile at the moment.
That's why the long form is good. Like it allows him to, like, his in a soundbite, he doesn't totally always come out.
Right.
But yeah, he's very passionate, and he has a lot of data, and he's great.
A ton of data, and very strong conviction around what needs to happen to make the healthcare system in America better. So it was a great interview. Good job.
Yeah, good.
All right, man. See you next week.
All right, have fun in Miami.
Thanks.